Hi everyone. Not sure what subreddit to post this, so I'll start here. I'm not one to keep a journal. I don't do social media, and I don't even like talking about myself, but I feel compelled to share this in case something happens. I'm hoping I don't end up on someone's strangest disappearance video or make a record for most amount of body parts found in different states. I must already be coming off as a paranoid schizophrenic or a dramatic or something. I'm a nobody, really. I keep to myself and live and work in a quiet part of the northeastern United States. I'm a bit of a recluse who hides from the world, and I like conformity and a safe place. Over the past couple of years, though, I've tried to come out of my shell. I traded my night shift for daylight to force myself to interact with people. I'm even sort of trying to make friends, which isn't easy in your mid-30s. But one old guy, the worst coworker I've ever had without a doubt, set me back. I've regressed. You're probably familiar with scary stories about a night security guard who notices weird things going on at the building he watches over. Well, that's somehow become my reality. For close to a decade, after I lost both my parents, I fell into a mental and social health spiral that had me living out of my car and driving cross-country working temp jobs. I didn't want to form connections or put down roots, so I stayed adrift. I'd say about 7 times out of 10, I worked in night security or stocked shelves, so I could avoid people. Problem is, I was never completely alone, and when it's just you and 1 or 2 other people, they tend to reach out eventually. They get chatty. They want to buy you a drink or something. That was my cue to move on. I know, you don't have to tell me it's a shitty way to live. A few years ago, I wanted to change. The reasons don't matter. Suffice it to say, I was trying to turn a page. So I settled down in a small apartment and got a day job at a large distribution center for a retailer you're all familiar with. There isn't much nearby it, but it's off the interstate, and it's an easy drive. The first few weeks were miserable for my socially awkward self. The job kept me on my feet all day fulfilling shipments, and most of my co-workers were always trying to strike up conversations with the newbie, who would have gotten into a survival mode whenever a simple hello was thrown his way. It was hell, and exactly what I needed to rejoin society. 4 months in, and I was improving. I asked for extra shifts. I made decent money. It wasn't fulfilling or mentally stimulating, but it was rewriting my brain and helping me pull myself out of a pit. Then he came along and ruined it. With wages being what they are and saving difficult for some, a lot of old folks need work. I get it, but why pick something physically taxing? And with the way he behaved, how did he get hired in the first place? I won't say much about him, unless I get a lot of requests to do so for whatever reason, but his behavior got on my nerves enough to make me change jobs. Same location, since there wasn't much else in the area that appealed to me. I ended up filling a vacancy in the night watch. In other words, I'm right back at a familiar spot. With any luck, it's only for a little bit, but I'd rather be doing the same old thing than having to deal with the curmudgeon for one more day. If you've made it this far, you must have wondered, what's the point of this story? Where's the meat? Well, after a week of being in my new post, I started to notice strange things happening. This sounds cliche, but I need actual advice here if anyone has some. I get that it's my job to watch the screens all night, do the rounds, and investigate everything out of place. I am a veteran at this, and while I've never had to beat someone up, I have called the police 5 times over the years at other sites, and even used pepper spray a few times. When I first started, the guy who trained me told me a story about when he found 3 homeless people who had been hiding and living in a grocery store distribution center. They scared him when he found their home in the warehouse, and he got ready to fight for his life. In that case, though, they just ran off and were never seen again. Ever since I heard the story, I've felt prepared for my own similar discovery, and this is coming from a very nonchalant person. Why would someone like me repeatedly take this job? For the other 99% of it, when nothing happens, and I get to spend a night alone in a place full of products that I wouldn't otherwise know existed and are, I don't know, interesting to look at. Truth is, while I dread the days I have to fight off intruders, once fear and adrenaline are pumping through my veins, I'm pretty level-headed and even chill in tough situations. The kind of events that would make others panic. Not sure why I'm like that. Some quirk in my survival instinct, for better or worse. I hate a steadily creeping problem, or worrying about a future hypothetical bad time. But once I'm in the moment and being tested, I mostly stay calm and logical. Anyway, here are the things I've noticed in no particular order. Moving shadows briefly appearing in the camera feeds. Motion sensors going off, but nothing on the screen in the playback. And several times, I found a door ajar and unlocked, leading to the outside. I've also found misplaced or unused items like tools, bandages, painkiller bottles, and various food in the grocery section. I found discarded wrappers and drink containers in cold storage, but nothing yet in the frozen section. I've sometimes found trash in the bins in the break room, which are emptied at the end of each day. So far, for some reason, our prowler, on occasions, deal with their own litter. And after all this, I haven't seen anyone on the nearly 3 dozen cameras that monitor the interior and exterior of the building. Nothing valuable has gone missing yet, but the thefts have been bad enough for the management to notice inventory discrepancies. Screwdrivers, drills, crowbars, and saws are among the most popular items. Sometimes, while I'm doing my rounds, the security office phone will ring, which I have to answer. This forces me to abandon my patrol, giving someone a chance to sneak by. And no one's on the phone when I get to it. Usually, when I work this job, I'm paired with someone. I don't know why the company, or at least the location, won't give me a partner. Only one other guy has this job currently, on the weekends. He's told me about similar occurrences. Management has replaced locks and added a few cameras, but has yet to take any actions to tighten security. It also bears mentioning that the building has had repeated issues with isolated black mold. I've found a few spots myself, even though there's never any sign of dampness in those areas. Crews have come in during the day to take care of it, but it keeps happening. I haven't asked about the mold, but I've heard management referring to the colonies as stubborn. I'm not certain if it keeps coming back, or if it's just hard to scrape off or kill in the first place. The mold is a separate issue, but I figured I'd add it to the list of unsettling crap that goes on here. The building's in otherwise good condition. How should I handle this? I hesitate to get the police involved until I have some solid evidence of repeat intruders or squatters. It always turns into a big thing, and if the cops can't do anything, then, well, I'm the one seen as not doing my job right. I don't get paid enough to try my hand at detective and forensic work. I'm almost ready to call the place haunted, which might explain away the motion sensors going off in the shadows, but not the thefts or the half-eaten food. Sure, I can go back to day shift and let someone else deal with all of this before my failures become a problem, but I really don't want to be around that creep. Is there something I'm not thinking of? Some easy way to find out what's going on? It's far-fetched, but maybe current or former employees are raiding the place and know how to avoid the cameras. But that's a lot of effort for some low-grade criminal antics. Still, I'm thinking of setting up hidden cameras on my own to catch them. The problem with that is that A, it's a stupid idea, especially if they're found, and B, I could be accused of spying on my coworkers or whatever. If I want to go that route, I might have to set them up and take them down every night. Or I may get some footage the first time I try, and also avoid getting stabbed by drug addicts. What follows is the second post, made 6 days after the first. Well, this blew up. I didn't think so many people would be interested in it. Some good suggestions on what I could do, and it looks like most of you want me to go ahead and put the cameras up. I'll just have to be smart about it. No, I can't afford infrared ones, nor will I be cracking open a kit from the warehouse. Losing my job I can handle, but I'm not going to spend any time in jail over it. What surprised me was how many of you want to know more about the weird old dude that made me move to this position in the first place. I guess I'll talk about it. He's in his 70s, I'm pretty sure. He's a stubborn loner who has to work the floor in his own way, knows nothing of teamwork or cooperation, and responds to us in what's basically amounts to grunts, or at best, barely coherent mumblings. He's also bad at social cues. At lunch, if there were no empty tables in the break room, he'd go hide somewhere and eat. He glares at us from across the sorting machines and mutters angrily if anyone makes a mistake. About the only thing he didn't do was physically touch anyone or file complaints on his own. But it's clear that he doesn't really like anyone, and he must hate his job, despite always showing up on time and working all day, even while keeping to himself. He also has a habit that's just annoying, in that he complains about everything contemporary. I'd say that he's out to constantly remind his younger generation coworkers about how the good old days were better. But he isn't even really making a point to any of us, or who cares to be listening. Remarks about the halcyon years, whenever they were for him, just get mixed in with all his other ramblings throughout the day, every single day. No offense to all the Gregs out there, but it's never been a name I've been fond of, so I'm going to call him Greg instead of revealing his identity. No matter what someone does, I'm not going to put them on blast for the internet, though he probably isn't even online enough to find out about whatever doxing or shaming might be done to him, potentially because of me. Greg isn't about to be fired anytime soon, as he has an annoyingly strong work ethic. So, when a position on the night shift opened up, I took it, and I'm still hoping it'll just be temporary. It beats having to put up with him all day and hearing about him from everyone else, but I don't want to stick to the solitary position for too long and go back to being a socially inept vampire. I'll add that I've never said a bad word about Greg at work. If he has a list, I shouldn't be on it. Whenever people joke about him or ridicule him in my presence, I just nod along and keep quiet. It's not that I don't think on the reasons I dislike someone, but I'm too much of a wimp to say stuff out loud or confront anyone. I guess it could also just be called having manners or not taking shit. Either way, I'm sure that I'm just another face to Greg. He likely hasn't even noticed yet that I stopped showing up during the day. That's about all there is to say. It's not like I'm going to interview him. As for the update, I'm wishing I had already set up the cams because last night got really messy. The past few days were otherwise fine up until then. Nothing out of the ordinary, weirdness-wise. Another problem with the warehouse is the acoustics. sound bounces around so much that it's like I'm in a mirror funhouse for audio. It makes it difficult to pinpoint sound sources, and I'm sure that the person or persons I'm dealing with scatter the moment they make enough noise for me to hear them. Case in point, last night, there was a guy wailing at the top of his lungs for a good 5 minutes or so, and I still couldn't find him before he disappeared. Maybe if I had already been on the floor, I would have had a chance, but I was up in the security room when the wild, pained screaming started, so I lost some time. I swear, these cameras are useless. There's so many, but none of them are pointed where they need to be looking. Imagine you're me, working alone at 2 in the morning in a huge building that is just about its own island of light in an area surrounded by darkness for miles. You check the feeds, you wait for motion detectors to go off while you browse on your phone, and then for no reason, suddenly, somebody's filling the place with echoes of bloody murder. You look at the screens and you see nothing. No choice but to leave the safety of the office and head down to look for potential maniacs. And then the screaming stops, and you're soaking in the silence again. Could it be a coworker or a disgruntled guy that got fired or quit? If they're homeless, what the hell are they doing out in the middle of nowhere? How'd they get this far into the boonies? This isn't some building in a city that people can slip into on any given night. We're out here because of the central, if not remote, location. We distribute to 24 stores in the region, and because we're easy for trucks to get to, being right off the interstate. I looked around for a while and didn't find anyone. No surprise. On occasion, we take a late-night delivery that I need to supervise, and this was one of those nights. Once I was alerted that a semi had pulled up, I headed to the back to unlock the roller shutters, where I'd get to watch 2 dudes unload pallets of cat litter and trash bag boxes. It's when I'm nearly at the shutters that I finally locate the murder scene. Okay, not really. I hope not, but there was a big pool of blood on the floor, along with some shredded gauze. Not enough blood that someone certainly died, but still more than I'd ever seen in real life. I took a picture and went into the loading area to assist the delivery. Maybe my priorities are messed up, but I wanted to get that out of the way. Once the forklift was back in its spot and the guys had headed out, I considered my options. Short term, my night would be easier if I simply cleaned up the blood and didn't report it. Tempting, but I knew what I had to do. This had gone far enough, and it was time to get the police involved. Now, it was warranted, even if I was going to get chewed out for screwing up or slacking off somehow. As if any of this was my fault. I returned to the office to make a call, and on the way, I found something I hadn't noticed earlier. A set of knives had been torn open and left on the floor, and only a single blade was missing. A big butcher's knife. If there were 2 crazy people evading me, one had just tried to kill the other. If there was only a single person, then they were even crazier than I thought. And if this wacko's goal was to unalive himself on the property to send a message or whatever, why dress the nasty injury that left all the blood? Leaving behind the box of knives in case they were needed for evidence, I went back into my safe room and made the call. It took the cops an hour to get out here, no surprise, and while I wish they hadn't because it would just escalate things further, they brought an ambulance with them. They checked around, asked questions, reviewed the footage, walked the building, trying to get the injured intruder to come out, drove around the perimeter looking for ways they could have gotten in, complained about coming out here again, and nothing. Just like me, they had no success. Dawn was breaking by the time the officers left. I filed a report and prepared for the worst. Although I had no idea how my current boss would respond, I've had experience with short-fused managers in the past who really don't like it when any incident happens on your watch, no matter how well I think I took care of it. Guess I'll find out tomorrow. Oh, and I'm not freaked out by the thought of the local vagrants having a knife now. He takes everything he wants, so he basically has all the knives in the building already. Again, I'm oddly calm under pressure. Threats and scare tactics don't faze me. I'll be all right.
Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, then please feel free to click on one of the videos we have up here. Maybe look at one of the playlists if you're trying to get caught up. I know, there's so many videos on the channel. There's so many series that are going at the same time. Sometimes you just need a little refresher course, and I gotta say, I always enjoy the views. If you're not subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell so you don't miss anything. We upload a lot on this channel, so you won't want to miss a single story as they come out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click on the Amazon link down there. There's quite a few books in my Amazon account. You can have a look, and if you'd like a signed copy, get up with me through email, and I'll be happy to work something out with you. Also, there's links to my Patreon, and you can become a member on the channel if you'd like your spooky a little bit early. Patrons and members on the $5 tier get their videos 12 hours early. That's in the morning as opposed to in the evening. Patrons at the $10 level also get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one. Speaking of my patrons, you should see them appearing right now. Just wanted to take a minute to say how much I appreciate all of you. Patrons, subscribers, however you give to the channel. I really appreciate everything you do, and it truly touches me that you have chosen to support the channel in this way. Well, that's enough for now. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.